Attacks. Units in opposing armies fight each other using melee weapons, ranged weapons, spells, and other unique attacks. This chapter will explain how attacks are performed in general and how you determine if they are successful in inflicting damage on their targets. Classification of attacks. All sources of damage are defined as attacks, which are then divided into melee and ranged attacks. See Figure 9. For attacks caused by an action or rule of a model or unit, that model or unit is considered to be the attacker, and its owner the player who makes the attack. Melee attacks. All attacks made at units in base contact with the attacker's unit in the melee phase are melee attacks. The most common type of melee attacks are close combat attacks. Model parts perform a number of close combat attacks equal to their attack value. See which models can attack, page 58. Special attacks are considered to be melee attacks that are not close combat attacks. See Special attacks, page 99. Ranged attacks. All attacks that are not melee attacks are ranged attacks. All ranged attacks made with a shooting weapon in the shooting phase or as a stand and shoot charge reaction are shooting attacks. Other ranged attacks include, amongst others, damage spells, ranged special attacks, hits from miscasts, and hits from failed dangerous terrain tests. Strength and armor penetration of attacks. Attacks have a strength and an armor penetration value, unless specifically stated otherwise. Close combat attacks use the strength and armor penetration of the model part making the attack, possibly modified by their close combat weapon, model rules, spells, characteristic modifiers, and other effects. Shooting attacks use the strength and armor penetration in the profile of the shooting weapon they are made with. Other types of attacks, such as spells and special attacks, follow the general rules for their type and the individual rules specified in their description. Attack sequence. Whenever an attack is performed, use the following sequence. Attacker allocates attacks if applicable. Determine number of hits. Attacker distributes hits if applicable. Attacker rolls to wound. If successful, proceed. Defender makes armor save rolls. If failed, proceed. Defender makes special save rolls. If failed, proceed. Defender suffers unsaved wounds. Defender loses health points. Defender removes casualties. Defender takes panic tests if necessary. Complete each step for all the attacks that are happening simultaneously, such as all shooting attacks from a single unit or all close combat attacks at a given initiative step, before moving on to the next step. Allocating close combat attacks. Close combat attacks are directed against enemy models in base contact. This is referred to as allocating attacks and will be explained in the melee phase chapter. See Allocating attacks, page 58. Determining the number of hits. Close combat attacks and most shooting attacks need to roll to hit. See Rolling to Hit, page 59, and Aim, page 52, while special attacks and certain spells may hit automatically, inflicting a fixed or random number of hits. Whenever an effect inflicts a random number of hits on more than one unit, roll once for the number of hits separately for each unit, unless specifically stated otherwise. Distributing hits. All attacks that target a unit as a whole will under normal circumstances hit the unit's RNF health pool. These include most ranged attacks and most melee attacks that are not close combat attacks. How hits are distributed may change when characters are joined to units, as described in Character, page 90. Close combat attacks are not distributed, but are allocated before to-hit rolls are made, as mentioned above. Do not redistribute the hits from close combat attacks at this stage. In cases where not all models of a health pool have the same relevant characteristics or rules, such as different resilience values or different saves, use the value or rules of the largest fraction of the health pool's models and apply them to all rolls, including to hit and to wound saves. In case of a tie, the attacker chooses which fraction to use. To wound rolls. If an attack has a strength value, it must wound the target to have a chance to harm it. To make a to wound roll, roll a d6 for each hit. The difference between the strength of the attack and the resilience characteristic of the defender determines the needed roll to wound the target. See Table 2. A natural roll of 6 will always succeed, and a natural roll of 1 will always fail. The player whose attack inflicted the hit makes a to-wound roll for each attack that hit the target. A successful to-wound roll causes a wound. Proceed to armor saves and armor modifiers. If the attack does not have a strength value, follow the rules given for that particular attack. Strength minus resilience and needed roll to wound. 2 or more 2 plus. 1 3 plus. 0 4 plus. -1 5 plus. -2 or less 6 plus. Armor saves. If one or more wounds are inflicted, the player whose unit is being wounded now has a chance to save the wounds if the wounded models have any armor. To make an armor save roll, roll a d6 for each wound. The following formula determines the needed roll to disregard the wound. 7 minus armor of the defender plus armor penetration of the attack. A natural roll of 1 will always fail. If the armor save is passed, the wound is disregarded. See Table 3 for the different possible results of the formula. Armor minus AP and needed roll to disregard the wound. 0 or less, no save possible. 1 6 plus. 2 5 plus. 3 4 plus. 4 3 plus. 5 or 6 2 plus. Special saves. The attacked model now has a final chance to disregard a wound that was not saved by its armor save, provided it has a special save. There are different types of special saves, like Aegis, X, and Fortitude, X, both detailed in Model Rules, page 80. To make a special save roll, roll a d6 for each wound that was not saved by the model's armor save. If X is given as a dice roll, for example, Aegis 4 plus, X is the roll needed to successfully disregard the wound. If X is given as a modifier and with a maximum value, for example, Fortitude plus 1, max 3 plus, the model gains this as a modifier to all its special save rolls of the same type, which cannot be increased to rolls better than the maximum value given in brackets. If the model doesn't have that type of special save, it instead gains a corresponding special save, 7 minus X, plus, for example, a model with Aegis, plus 2, max 4 plus, will gain Aegis, 5 plus. If a model has more than one special save, choose which one to use before rolling. Only a single special save can be used against each wound. Losing health points. For each unsaved wound, the attacked model immediately loses a health point, which may lead to models being removed as casualties. See Casualties, page 68 for further details.